Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here. On Channel 59.3, BPOD TV and Roku. Big news. Will the Bears bring back Akeim Hicks? There have been some talks. We'll break it all down in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. You to watch more shows from the BPOD TV network. Search up BPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. History may be deceiving. No, I'm not saying things are falsified or everything we know is a lie. Could be, but probably not. What I am saying, though, is that if you judge somebody based on history and history alone, you'll never see the full picture. Take the Cubs, for example. The Cubs signed Andrelton Simmons, Jonathan Villar, tons of veterans who were great in 2015. We all know they're in a rebuild, retool. They brought in names who had good seasons with the hope that maybe they'd rekindle that magic, that fire. Didn't work. Could have told you that one a mile away. It would have been nice. I understand the thought process behind it. But at the end of the day, we're talking about 6 or 7 years ago. They were great in 2015, Villar, Simmons, but today, not so much. And the Cubs can't be judging them based on their 2015 performance. It isn't 2015 anymore. 2022. See what I mean? History can be deceiving. In the Bears' case, for Akeim Hicks, it's kind of a similar situation. There was a report yesterday saying that the Bears could bring him back. Akeim Hicks may want to come back. I don't buy it for sure, but here's what I do know logically about the entire situation. Akeim Hicks last year made $10 million. And this year he's going to be 33 years old. Oh yeah, he has an injury history too. I love Akeim Hicks. I think he's been very good in a Bears uniform. Certainly hasn't been a ripoff or a bust. He's been worth, for the most part, the money that he's been paid, with the exception of injuries. He's productive. He's a good team guy. 8.5 sacks 2017, 7.5 2018. Made the Pro Bowl that year's first ever. But in 2019 and this past year, he hasn't played every game. Injuries have really set in as he gets older. At the same time, when he did play, he wasn't as productive as he once was. Look, if I'm Brian Poles, and I'm inheriting a brand new team, and I'm trying to save money cap-wise, I'm already dead cap at around $50 million. I'm trying to save money. Would it even make sense to entertain Akeim Hicks returning, even if he wanted to? You would have to significantly lowball him to make it work budget-wise. Let alone would he even accept it? Probably not, after coming off a $10 million a year for playing 9 games. That's according to SpotTrack. And herein lies the conundrum that people don't want to talk about. Sports are a business. There are business decisions that are going to have to be made, and Akeim Hicks may be a fan favorite, but guess what? I wouldn't pay a 33-year-old defensive lineman $10 million to return. When I know I already have $50 million in dead cap sitting around. And I love Akeim Hicks. I think he's a talented football player. But does this fit Brian Poles' mold? Number one. Would Akeim Hicks even want to return? Number two. And does this help out the Bears' plan today and even tomorrow? The answer to all 3 of those questions, unfortunately, is no. So the idea that he may come back, or the rumor that's being spread, is 100% false. Logistically, it makes no sense. It hurts to say it. This is one of those situations where it actually hurts me, truthfully. He's a good player. I wouldn't mind keeping him around. But the price is not going to be good. It's not going to help out the team. It's going to set the Bears back even more. Any Cubs fans here? Remember 2006? Remember when the Cubs traded Greg Maddux? I do. Traded him. Greg Maddux, Hall of Famer. Now, I get it. He was 40 years old, definitely past his prime, but still a serviceable pitcher. Thrown 200 innings at 40 years old, 16-11 record, 3.96 ERA in the steroid era. Not bad. And I remember watching that game, that broadcast. They brought him up mid-game in the booth and gave him a goodbye because they traded him to the Dodgers at the time. And I remember what Len Casper and Bob Brenly said on that broadcast. Jim Hendry was there too. This was purely a business decision. This had nothing to do with hard feelings or bad performance. Greg Maddux meant so much to the Cubs organization. His numbers were tired. But at the end of the day, that team went 66-96 with Dusty Baker. They needed prospects. They needed something. And there was no reason to keep Greg Maddux around on a crappy team when he could have gone to play for L.A. and then eventually the San Diego Padres and make a difference. Even that late in his career, it hurt to see him go. It hurt to watch them trade him. Even at 6 years old, I remember this. That Greg Maddux was going to be gone. But you know what? I understood the move. My dad explained it to me, then I understood. It made sense. The team sucked. Total trash heap. We had nothing to look forward to, really. Then the next year, they won the division. Year after that, won the division again. Meanwhile, Maddux pitched for a couple of more years in L.A. and then in San Diego. Did well. Helped them out, too, in the playoffs. It was mutually beneficial. There were no hard feelings. There was no, oh, he's being forced out. No. The whole thing was mutually beneficial. Everybody won, and everybody moved on. And today, there are no hard feelings. Greg Maddux's number is hanging on the foul pole. Flying away as a flag. That's kind of the same thing here with Akeim Hicks. Akeim Hicks may not be as big a legend as Greg Maddux, but the whole sentiment's the same. I love Akeim Hicks. I really do. I think he embodied a lot of this era for Bears football. I mean, you watched the Bears in 2016, 2017, even in those dark days with John Fox, you did see Akeim Hicks, and he played pretty damn well. Then when they started winning, Hicks was still a part of the team and actually contributed. He defined an era in Bears history, no question. I never want to take that away from him. But when we talk logistics, when we talk money, which is what the NFL is, what the Bears are, their business, is it feasible? Look, if Hicks is willing to play for $1 million, $2 million, I'd do it. But then that'd be a disservice to him. That'd be insulting to him. Hicks posted yesterday a picture of him sacking a Packers player. I think it was Aaron Rodgers. As a memory. Everybody thought, well, maybe he wants to come home. He may want to come home, but for the right price. And the Bears can't offer it. Or they could, but technically they'd be stupid to do it. Let's just be frank here. They'd be stupid to offer a 33-year-old defensive lineman with injury troubles $10 million to stay. Then you have $50 million already in dead cap space. It wouldn't make sense. This is why sometimes social media gets out of control. And I know I'm a hypocrite. I'm on social media all the time, but seriously. I'm not going to interpret a post by Akeim Hicks missing sacking Packers players as a means of him wanting to return. Logistically, if you know anything about business, it won't happen. What doesn't make sense? Won't work. I love Akeim Hicks. But it's not going to happen. It can't. Unless for some reason he's willing to accept $1 million next year, $2 million. There's just no way I see this happening. The Bears do need some defensive line help for sure, but that's not the top of the list. And I wish all the best for Akeem, truthfully. I hope he latches on somewhere and actually wins. That's what I want for him. That's what I said about Allen Robinson, too. And sure enough, he went to the Rams. I hope for Akeem's sake, he goes somewhere where not only he could contribute, but he can actually frickin' win. And stop dealing with this mediocrity and different coaches and drama. I hope he goes somewhere where he's actually going to be valued, treated well, and could be in position for a Super Bowl. Who wouldn't want that? He's never won one. He started in New Orleans too late. That's my hope for him. And it's entirely possible, too. I really hope it works out. But the idea that he'll come back here is, unfortunately, Bears fans, a little bit ludicrous. And that's not even an insult to him or to anybody. It's just the fact of the matter. When we're talking business, it makes no fiscal sense. Salary's gone up every year. He was only making $7 million back in 2017. This past year, $10.4 million. $10.4 million, $12 million cap hit last year. Now he's an unrestricted free agent. He's going to want something similar to that if he came back here. If not, at least the same salary. What do you think? Do you think it's smart to pay Akeim Hicks, who's 33 years old, a $10 million contract to play 10 games? Maybe? With injuries? I don't think so. And that's not a personal attack or a knock on him. It's just the truth. The truth is, it wouldn't be worth it. That doesn't mean he's a bad player or a bad man or bad for the team. It just means it's not worth $10 million. $1 million, 100%. $2 million, maybe. 10? When you're already in cap trouble? No. That's why I didn't get people spreading this rumor yesterday that maybe he'll return. Maybe they'll bring him back. How? Show me the money. Where's the money for it? Fair question. That said, very grateful for what Akeem Hicks did here in Chicago. And it's unfortunate that it had to end like this. But then again, both parties are in different places. The Bears are rebuilding. They have dead cap. They're not spending a lot of money. And Akeem Hicks is 33, injury prone, and probably wants money. At least $10 million, maybe $9 million. That's about it. Hicks said on Twitter, quote, "I didn't mean to get your hopes up." Exactly. People actually believed he was going to come back. I don't know how that's even possible. That'd be an insult to him and an insult to the Bears. Both parties would lose in that situation. Again, think of Greg Maddux and the Cubs and 2006. That's the best situation, at least I can compare it to. But I think first reaction, that. Greg Maddux was still semi-productive. He was older. He was on a contract year. The Cubs were 66 and 96 and clearly rebuilding and getting rid of salary. Dodgers needed him, needed a pitcher. They traded him. But still, they didn't dishonor him. They didn't disrespect him. They purposefully said, "This is not disrespectful. We are still happy with Greg." And Greg said the same thing. And it all worked out at the end of the day. Greg Maddux is a Hall of Famer. His number is hanging at Wrigley Field. The Cubs ended up winning the year after, and Greg pitched for a couple of years in serious situations. Postseason-esque situations in LA and San Diego. It worked out. It was great. I'm sure if you asked Greg Maddux after 2006, when he was a free agent, would you come back to Chicago? The answer would be no. He'd say, "I need to get paid. Cubs can't pay him." Or they weren't willing to pay him at that point. And who would? 41-year-old pitcher? Throwing 85 miles per hour? Probably not worth it. It's not Greg Maddux, who's 20. It's Greg Maddux, who's 40. It's not Akeem Hicks, who's 25, 26. It's Akeem Hicks with an injury history, who's 33. Making $10 million. See how similar these situations are? Parallel. That's why it makes sense as to why he wouldn't come back and why this speculation was just that, speculation. Good reminder for all of you who get your Bears news or any news. Read through the lines sometimes, especially when it comes to speculation versus report or real news. This was pure speculation. And it got to the point where it was so rampant that Akeem Hicks had to clear it up himself. But even when I saw this news yesterday, I thought to myself, there's no way he's coming back. There's just no way. Logistically, money-wise, for his own sake, none of it made sense. None of it came back to Chicago. All ways pointed away from the Bears. So just a reminder, next time you hear about a Bears story or any other story, whatever it is, doesn't even have to be sports, check. Don't just go off of speculation, because at the end of the day, speculation could be very wrong. And it was here, and Akeim Hicks proved it. Thanks for watching today's show here on Ponte Beach, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. You know, watch more of this show. Search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. Tune in every night right here at 10:30 on Ponte TV. So long, everyone.